Oh!
No, sir.
How?
Stop. We're about to go over it. Ezra, hold on. We're about to go over it, sir. We're about to go over it. Stop. Stop. You don't even have a sheet of paper out to even try to work this problem. So, I am now recording so that we can go over this, but stop. I'm talking. I need you to listen. Ladies and gentlemen, I have 27 students in this class. 9 of you have worked on or submitted something. This, again, is a part of your active collaboration grade. This affects your grade in my class. It affects your ability to learn. I'm not asking you to get it right. I'm asking you to attempt it. You need to get an answer in within the next 30 seconds. Type something in. Yes, Maddie. Then write that down for now. Type that into the calculator now. We're going to go over it so that you can grow and learn. I didn't ask you to get it perfect, but we'll talk about it, see if you have a starting point, okay? Trent, what was your question? What was your question? Gotcha. Do you prefer to go by Trent?
Stop shaking your head.
Have you told me that one?
Why are you shaking your head?
Trent.
You need to stop shaking your head right now. What are you saying?
Okay. I'm stopping the poll. We now have 15, which means at this current point, 12 of us will be losing a point on the active collaboration score.
I can't calm down anymore.
Okay, I have 19 responses in. For the other 8 of us, I'm sorry. This is a lesson, because I let this go. Stop. Stop. Just stop. What?
I quit ball. It's gone.
I know. I stopped it. So I need y'all to hear me clearly on this. It's been 12 minutes. It should not take us that long to get a response in. Okay? It's taken, excuse me, why are you talking while I'm talking? It's hard for you to hear. It's hard for them to hear. Okay? So, hey, listen guys, we're doing our best to learn and grow here. If that's not what your priority is, then just stop. I need you to focus, I need you to grow and learn. Because I'm going to hold you accountable to this. It should not take us 12 minutes. I know that we're not 100% comfortable with this. Get what you can done. And then we'll have a conversation to improve your understanding. This is not a grade except for the fact that you will lose a point on your active collaboration if you don't get it done. That's the only way that this becomes a grade. So learn through mistakes, continue to take notes. Now, I do want to emphasize this because I feel like a lot of students miss out on this detail. I'll have to move that in a second. You cannot just write down what the expression is. You need to pay attention to what question is being asked. What is being asked of you right here? To get an equivalent form, right? An equivalent expression. So when it talks about this idea of an equivalent expression or an equivalent form, what can you do to get equivalent expressions and equivalent forms? You can distribute. That's one thing you can do. That's the only thing we can actually do right now. But in general, what are some other things we can do to get equivalent forms? You can simplify how. But how do we do that? But once you distribute, you've distributed. Okay, so let's do this. Let's do our distributive process right now. So again, and Joey, I know this is not one of your favorites, so let's look at this. When we say distributing the multiplication, what we're looking at is right here. What's understood to be between the 3 and the parentheses?
Multiplication.
Multiplication. And so what we can do is when we have this multiplication, we can distribute that multiplication so that it's 3 times x and 3 times negative 4. That's distribution. Now I do want to emphasize, because we talked about it yesterday, Why am I distributing? Why am I not doing 3 plus 3?
Because it's in parentheses. You gotta do parentheses first for the pencil.
Okay, so actually let's talk about that. When we talk about doing what's inside of parentheses first, we're talking about the x minus 4. Can you do anything with the x minus 4? Like, can you add those two things together? No. So it's not the parentheses that we're worried about. It's actually the fact that we are multiplying. What comes first, multiplication or addition? Multiplication. That's actually why we can't add, because we have to multiply first. It's not doing the stuff inside the parentheses. All right, does that make sense? Okay, so now we distribute 3, so we still have the 3. We're not doing anything with this first 3. Plus, what's 3 times x? 3x. 3 times negative 4.
Negative 12.
All right. What about over here? Can I do anything? I can distribute again, and that's what we want to recognize. I have 2 sets of distribution. 2 times negative x.
Negative 2.
Negative 2x. And so you can do it as plus a negative 2x. But what's another way that I could write this?
Just minus 2x.
When you add a negative, that's the same thing as subtracting. And that's probably how I would write it. And then what's 2 times this one?
2.
So plus 2. Up to this point, what are your questions? Maddie, were you good up to this point? Yes? So it's after this that you were having some trouble? No? You were good even after this a little bit? Okay. So we want to recognize, right, we just distributed. The distributive property is really powerful. Now, Emily already said we're going to simplify, but my question is, how are we going to simplify at this point? Okay, and so that's what you all have said in the past, combining like terms. But let's be more accurate, more precise with it. When you say combining like terms, what do we really mean?
Adding.
Adding and subtracting the like terms, right? It's not just this random or super abstract word of combine, it's add or subtract. For example, what is a term that is like this 3? 2. Right? That plus 2 is like the 3. Is there anything else like the 3? Negative 12. Now, you don't have to do this. The next step that I'm about to do, you don't have to do. You could just add those like terms right now, but remember I showed you a property yesterday that allows you to switch the order of the terms.
Term.
The commutative property. The commutative property literally just says that you can rearrange the terms as much as you want. Right? If I had 3 plus x plus y, that's the same thing as y plus 3 plus x. That's nowhere near the same order, but I still have all 3 terms and I'm adding all of them. So would these be equivalent?
Yeah.
Yes. So personally, to make sure that I understand things well, I'm going to put all of my like terms together. So 3, what's the next like term?
12.
So minus 12. Notice it's not just 12, it's minus 12. What's the next like term?
Plus 2.
Plus 2. That's it for those like terms. Then I have 3x minus 2x. Now I have all my like terms together. Now my job gets really easy. I can use a calculator. What's 3 minus 12 plus 2?
Negative 7.
Negative 6.
Negative 6. Negative 7.
Negative 7.
Check your answer. Check what you put in again. I believe that it would be negative. I don't think so. It's got to be negative. Look again. Plus 2. Right? Guys, be careful. Okay? This plus 2 right here. What's 2 times 1? It's a positive 2 times a positive 1. Right? We got to distribute. There you go. So again, I would just use a calculator. Right? 3 minus 12 plus 2. And please understand, if you didn't get the negative 7, just check your calculator. That's a calculator issue. Make sure you plugged it in right, and you get -7. Now, plus what?
Oh no, I got.
Plus what?
Plus 3x minus 2x.
So plus 3x minus 2x. But what would 3x minus 2x be? Just 1x? Yes? Okay. Now remember, you can't just do the 3 minus 2, but really, why is 3x minus 2x just x?
Because you have 3 x's and you're taking 2 of them away.
So we have 3 x's that we are adding, right? Multiplication is repeated addition. So I have x plus x plus x. And then I am subtracting 2 x's. X minus x is 0. X minus x is
0.
And so how many x's do I have?
1.
Right. It's not random. It's not just magically 1x. It's because of what multiplication means. Right? And I do want to show you one way that this can be helpful or easy. Would anyone know what 7 times 52 minus 6 times 52 is off the top of your head?
No.
No one knows that? Hold on, listen. We don't know 7 times 52 minus 6 times 52? But wait, what does this multiplication mean? So I'm repeatedly adding 52 how many times? 7 times? But then I'm taking away 52 6 times, right? So how many 52s do I have left? Done. 7 times 52 minus 6 times 52 is just 52.
I don't know yet.
Okay? So think about it this way, Joey. If this was 7 times x minus 6 times x, what would that be?
1x.
1x. So 7 times 52 minus 6 times 52 is just 1 times 52.
I'm a little embarrassed I used the calculator to get the answer.
I wouldn't be. How many of y'all knew that answer off the top of your head? Nobody? I didn't expect you to. I'm trying to show you something important. And again, guys, look, the whole point of this is if you can recognize that multiplication, all multiplication is repeated addition. This is useful because, hey, I'm adding 52 7 times. I'm taking away 52 6 times. So I'm just left with 1 52. Right? Because I can tell you, most of us would not know 7 times 52 off the top of our head. Or 6 times 52 off the top of our head. But 1 times 52, that's pretty easy. Alright. So the correct answer was -7 plus x. It's okay. So, yes, Ethan.
So I got that answer, just kind of the opposite.
So you had x minus 7?
Yeah.
Okay, there's a great point here.
No, more like I just had basically that, just over plus sign.
Can you come write it up here what you're talking about? Just write it over here so we can discuss it. Ethan, come on, so we can discuss it. Thank you, sir. Yes, ma'am. Can you have your hand up?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, I got -7 plus 5x.
Hold on. Listen, Anaya, you write your answer and I'll talk to you about it in a second. Anaya, what were you saying?
I got -7 plus 5x.
-7 plus 5x. So you, right here, Anaya, my guess is when you did 2 times -x, did you have minus 2x or did you have a positive 2x?
Minus.
Well, then you need to make sure that you pay attention that 3 x's minus 2 x's is only 1x. It sounds like you added them instead of subtracted them. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So watch for that mistake. Okay, so you had x plus -7. Oh, so, hold on. -7 plus x, x minus 7, x plus -7. Guys, if you add a negative, what's that the same as?
Subtracting.
Subtracting. So this right here is the same as x minus 7. And remember, you can have that just commutative property where you switch them. All 3 of those are correct. They're just different forms of each other. This is why I ask you for an equivalent form, because it may look different but still be the same. That's correct. You good? Okay. And so again, I also want to emphasize this. This was not the answer that you had to come up with. This was equivalent. This was equivalent. Right? There were many answers that were equivalent. Because what do we mean by equivalent? Not equal to? They look
Different. They look different,
They
but are the
look
same.
different but are the same. That's what we mean by equivalent. What are your questions before we continue? So you can
I said now I'm 0-4.
Hey, it's not about the past, it's about learning for the future. I need y'all to understand this. I need you to get this. We could spend days, which is what other geometry classes are doing, just practicing this over and over and over again. That's boring and you would hate it. So instead of making you do a whole set of practice for multiple days in a row, I'm just doing one problem a day to help us get more comfortable. It doesn't matter what's happened the last 4 days. What matters is that you take notes, that you learn from your mistakes, that you grow and you get better. The past doesn't have to dictate the future. Learn from your mistakes. Okay? What are your questions about this problem before we continue though, or this idea? Again, and there's something to think about, Joey. I'm not grading you on this right now. This is just to help you grow and learn, right? So, maybe. There we go. Okay. Hold on one second. This does not mean start talking. This means that some of us forgot things. Peyton, you don't have your phone right now?
I had this one friend from the home, and I got to do that from
Well, I'm putting a star here to watch if that continues to happen. Jamie's not here today, right? Forgot to check that earlier. 15.
Jordan,
Brooklyn, get that phone up.
I won't make a phone. You realize how broken it is?
I can vouch for that.
Discombobulated.
Marlon's absent. 18. Jordan's absent as well. 19. Karia. And that should be it. That's not true. Hey, DeJuan, did you forget to do something today?
What I forgot to do?
Your phone?
Miss King. Miss King, I ain't blowing you. I told you my phone is.
Oh, you're right. I even have it started here to keep that in mind. You're right. My bad. Alright. So, at this point, let's look at the active collaboration rubric. Guys, I need y'all to hear me clearly on this. This class, you are shooting yourselves in the foot because one, I am scoring you every day on your active collaboration. That goes directly into your grade. In fact, it's 20% of your grade. Okay? So you need to pay attention to what it means, the active collaboration. I didn't give you a rubric yesterday for this, did I? Here's a copy of it. There it is. So this rubric, Devin and Jaden, do I need to separate you two? Okay. This will directly impact your grade, but more importantly, this active collaboration will impact your grade because it will impact your ability to learn. You got to participate, and we are not doing a great job of actively talking out. I'm good with you talking to the whole class when it's whole class discussion time. I'm not good with you having side conversations. I'm good with you talking, and I encourage you to talk with each other during small group time about the math. But when y'all get super loud, are you talking about the math, or are y'all talking about stuff outside of this classroom?
Outside.
Outside, right? If y'all start getting super animated about those things, I and you both know you're not talking about the math I need you to learn. So we're going to look at what that means again. Quick defining math reminder, and then we're going to focus on collecting that data again from yesterday. Was anyone besides Thomas not here yesterday? So I just need to print. Keandre, you weren't here yesterday? Okay, so I need to print out 2 copies of the resources we're using. Okay, So active collaboration, I need you to remember this. Plainly put, just to get to a 3, which a 3 is a 75% overall, but to get to a 3, you gotta work. If you're not working in class, you can't really learn well. So, just to get a 3, you gotta be working in class on the math. During whole class discussions, there are 3 things you can do, and you need to do one of them. What are the 3 things you can do during whole class discussions?
Share thoughts, ask questions, and take notes.
That's it. Share your thoughts, ask questions, take notes. That's it. To get to a 3, you gotta do one of those 3 things. To get above a 3 to a 3.5, you have to do 2 of those whole class discussion things. So to get to a 3.5 or higher during whole class discussion, you're going to have to what? You gotta talk. There's no ands, if, buts about it. If you want a 4, 4.5, or 5 during whole class discussions, you have to talk during the class. Share your thoughts or ask questions. Both of them are fantastic. Do one of them and take notes. To get to the engaged level, remember, learning happens best when you talk with each other. I don't care how much you want to say, but Mr. Kinney, I just don't like people. I'm not a social person, blah, 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 blah. Too bad. I grew up not being social either, but the fact of the matter is you cannot live life being antisocial. You've got to learn how to build relationships with people. You've got to learn how to converse with people. And I am telling you that as somebody who is an introvert naturally. I am telling you that as someone who struggled to talk with people through middle school, well, elementary, middle school, and high school. You got to learn how to get better. The past doesn't define you. What matters is how you work to get better in my class. So don't use that as an excuse. Talk with the people in your small group. Ask them questions. Share your ideas. Learn from each other. That's it. And then we'll talk more about the 4.5s and 5s later. What are your questions about the scores through a 4? You may not like it, but I promise you all these things are because I care about you and I care about your future. Talk with each other to help each other grow and learn. That's it. Alright, as a quick reminder, how have we defined math? Kari?
The study of,
Study of something.
patterns and relationships.
Patterns and relationships. Because remember, and I will say this, math is a subject where either you love it or you hate it. A lot of times, students in classes like this hate math. But if you approach math as just a simple study of patterns and relationships, math is way less scary. And that means that everyone can be successful if all you do is at least try to notice a pattern or a relationship. And in my class, as a mathematician, you're going to do what with those patterns and relationships? Notice,
describe,
and generalize our patterns and relationships. Alright, but right now we are focusing more on the data analysis side. And again, Thomas and Keandre, I know I'll have to print out a copy for you, and I'll do that in a second. What we're trying to do is we're first trying to identify statistical versus non-statistical questions. We broke that down yesterday. What makes a question statistical? Emily?
Variability.
Variability. If you expect variability in the response from people or from whatever, that is a statistical question, right? And so if you don't expect variability, it's non-statistical. We'll get more practice with that moving forward. We also talked about whether data is categorical or numerical yesterday. So when I haven't heard much from today, what do I mean by categorical data?
response fit into categories.
Okay, so the response in some way would fit into a category. All right? Anaya, would you be comfortable with numerical data now? Because we didn't get you when you raised your hand.
The responses got numbers in them.
So the response what?
They got numbers in them.
Response, something about number, that's all I could hear.
They got numbers in them.
Okay, the response has numbers in them. Okay, but let's talk about that a little bit. Because if I were to ask you, or ask each of you what zip code you live in, that's a number, right? Would that be numerical data?
No.
Why not?
Yes.
It's not being measured.
We all live
Oh,
in
wait,
the
yes.
Not everyone lives in the same zip code. Maybe. I would assume we actually, some of us live in different zip codes. I know I live in a different zip code as y'all. But the question is, and so you're thinking about is it statistical or non-statistical? My question is this numerical or is it categorical? Nathan?
It is because you
It is
said,
what?
numerical because it says response are number usually measured, and you said zip code, so that is like a distance where we know things are at.
Okay, so I will agree that if you are dealing with distance, that would be a measurement, but a zip code is not a measurement of things.
Categorical.
A zip code is just a location where something is located. So it's what?
Categorical.
It's categorical. Another thing that I would remind you of, and so we have to be careful, and that's why I bring this up. Numerical doesn't just mean numbers, right? Your telephone number is not something you would ever measure. You also would never average it. So a numerical set of data is a number, yes, that you would measure to get, or another way to think about it is a value that you might average. Okay? Questions, comments, concerns before we continue? All right, where we left off yesterday was asking survey questions of each other to get to know each other and to answer the questions on our sheets. I meant to take that one out. So we are at this point where you've already created 4 survey questions, right, for the questions that we're trying to answer. Does that sound correct? And so I think we were collecting data from how many people total?
15.
What is the first thing you need to do when you talk with a person?
Say your name.
You need to get their name. Then you need to ask those questions. Please hear me very clearly. Hey, listen. All right? First off, hey, stop and listen. I don't know what stop and listen means to you, but I need you to stop and listen. Some of us have a question like, what year was the 13th Amendment ratified? Does that sound correct? Someone has that?
Yeah.
Okay. I would assume most of us don't know that answer. This is why yesterday, and I will continue to let this happen today, you are allowed to have your phone during this data collection process. Because what can you do on that phone while we're trying to answer this question? Google it. What year was the 13th Amendment ratified? Everyone should have an answer to that because we can Google it. I believe some of us have a question like, how many blocks were before this class? Does that sound familiar?
Yes.
So when talking about that, how many blocks have y'all already been through today?
3.
Okay, same response should be true for all those. For those of y'all who have the question, how many, I think it's desks or chairs are in this classroom? I'll go ahead and tell you, don't count my desk, just count the student desk, and there are 7 groups of 4. So that should help you answer that question. Now, hey, listen again. One of the other questions is something like, hey, what is the furthest you've been from home? It doesn't have to be perfect, but I guarantee you, you'll need your phone for that. I would go to Google Maps, and I would enter in my current location, and I would enter in the city that I've been to that's furthest from home. So I might put in start point, Tuscaloosa, Alabama, end point, New York City, if that's the furthest you've been. For me, my start point would be, I guess, Montgomery, because that's where I grew up. And the furthest I've been from Montgomery is St. Petersburg, Russia. I have no clue how many miles that is. I would have to Google it. So, if you are on your phone and you're not using it productively to answer questions, I will collect your phone. And I will email your parents or call them if I don't hear back via email. But you are allowed to have your phone during this time to answer these questions. What are your questions before I let y'all start collecting data? Emily?
I already counted, I remember being asked yesterday and counted the other chairs, but
Okay, so did you say 30?
I did like 30, yeah, 30.
Okay, so let's just go ahead and say this. If you have that question of how many chairs are in this room, change it to 28 for all the people you've already gotten it from. Is that fair? Does that make sense? If you have the question of what year was the 13th Amendment ratified, go back to those people and re-ask them that question, and they need to Google it to find the answer. Peyton.
Do we have to have 15 each?
You need to have 15 each. I want you to get to know 15 people. Let's get to work. And I'll print it out. I'll print it out. And y'all will need to get the questions.
You want me to answer? On average, letters are in your parents' last name. Which month has the most birthday for your birthday? And lastly, what is your favorite cereal? Mine's July. I'm Nick.
That's not 15.
John, the 13th Amendment?
How many letters do you have in your last name?
I
Which month is
brought you 65.
What is your favorite cereal? Five. Little.
I drink Ravens. Strawberry and banana, peanut butter and banana. Strawberry.